Bonjour, Kanamage Nene Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to this production of the My Math Network. Today's episode, Chapter 6, Lesson 14, Divide Decimals by Powers of 10. Please have packet for Chapter 6, Lesson 14 available. It begins on page 461. If you do not have the packet available to you, you may use paper and pencil as a way to have tools available for reference when you do the assignment. The essential question: how is multiplying and dividing decimals similar to multiplying and dividing whole numbers? And as what we've seen is that the standard algorithm is the same. The only change is the location and movement of decimal points. Our problem of the day: at a store, the daily newspaper costs 75 cents each day except Sunday. Sunday paper is $2.50. A subscription costs $5 per week. How much does a weekly subscription save in a 20-week period? And we know that 20-week period would be $100. But how much is it going to be daily? So we could do a problem of 75 times 6 times 20. So 75 times 120, that's $90. And plus the 20 times 250, which is $50. You're going to save about $40 a week, or for the 20 weeks. All right, so let's get into the teaching for today. What patterns do you see when you divide decimals by 10, 100, or 1000? And it's going to be the same as when we were doing this with whole numbers. You're moving the decimal point to the left, whereas when we were doing multiplication, we moved it to the right. It's the exact inverse. And the number of zeros, or the power, will tell you how many spots to go to the left. For example, 315.2 divided by 10 means I go one spot back, 31.52. That same 315.2 divided by 100 was basic niche spots back, and we had 3.152. So you notice there are two different zero counts, and that resulted in the decimal place moving. The rest of the non-zero digits were exactly the same. Choose a number in which the whole number is 4, and there are decimals to the thousands. So we can do this using our annotation tool. .976 or 876 divided by 100. And that's going to equal 2 zeros. Basic niche will be 0.04876. So I started here, I had to go one spot, and then I had to annex a 0. So just like where we had to annex zeros at the end of multiplication, you can annex zeros between your decimal point and your first non-zero digit. You can't put it over here. You can't put it at the end. It has to be between the first non-zero digit and the decimal point. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear this, and let's get ready for the book. And, oops, too far. The book will begin on page 461 with example basic. And on this page, it's giving us two different ways in which we could divide 219.5 by 10. We could, on the left, use the standard algorithm. Notice we made sure the decimal points were lined up. 10 went into 21 twice, and we followed the steps: divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down, over and over until we got to the final answer. So I want this, which was 2195. But there was another way. dividing by 10, we could just move the decimal point. So where it was as right after the 9 there, dividing by 10, there's 1 0. We went back one spot. So we had 21.95 now. That is an easier way to attack this problem. And it'll save you a lot of writing. And you could even probably do it in your head. All right, let's move to the top of the next page already. And this will be page 462. Laura needs to make 10. That's the same problem. Sorry here. Example niche, there we go. And there is a helpful hint. The quotient of a number in a power of 10 that is greater than 1 will always be less than the original number. So if I was multiplying like 1,000 times 0.9, it's going to be 900. It's going to be less. All right, example niche. In the past 10 squared years, 10 squared is 100, scientists measured the movement of the continents to be 190.5 centimeters. If the continents move the same amount each year, how much did the continents move in 1 year? So we had 190.5, and you'll notice they had to annex zeros because you can't have a remainder, and we just keep doing that until we get to an even spot. That's one way to do it. Very easy. And we ended up with 1.905. That's cool and all, but there's a better way. Dividing by 100 means 2 spots to the left, and now we have 1.905. So 190.5 divided by 10 squared is 1.905. The continents moved 1.905 centimeters in a year. Go ahead and write that in your paper. And we're going to practice a few here. Moving on to the next slide. This is where you're going to get some practice. We're going to do, actually, we'll do these ones together. First, 7.2 divided by 10. There's 1 0. It's going to go back. So now it's going to be before the 7. So I'm going to write it as 0.72. Now 10 squared, this decimal, or this exponent, sorry, tells me there are 2 zeros. So it's going to go back how many spots? If you said 2, you're right. So 0.215. And 3 zeros, 3 spots, basic, niche, and you're going to have to annex a 0. So you get 0.0192. So the exponent or the number of zeros will tell you how far to go. All right. And don't add them together where you have this 10 to the third. That's not 4 zeros. That's just 3. If it's written as an exponent, the exponent will tell you how many zeros. I'll give you this as a way to write these in. It's this tool, but a little neater than my penmanship there. Go ahead and write those numbers down. Give about 10 more seconds and then we'll move forward. All right, let's move forward. So use number of zeros and number 10 to explain why 4.5 divided by 10. Well, that number of zeros represents the power of 10. It tells me how many spots I'm moving my decimal point. So pretty simple there. All right, here's some for you to practice. I'd like you to do numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7. When you do that, you're going to pause the video, complete the questions, and then unpause the video and move forward. You may pause your video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. On this one, we have 2 zeros, so we go back 1 spot and 2 spots, so we had to annex a 0. We got 0.0562. On number 5, there are 2 zeros, so it's back 1, back 2. So it's right before the 1, 0.187. 3 zeros, I got 1, but then I'm going to need 2 more to next. So you can annex multiple zeros. You got 0.0063. And divided by 1, it stays the same. Kind of like the identity property of multiplication. Be exact. All right, let's go ahead and practice just a few more. I'd like you to do these 4 and pause the video. And when you're done, come back. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. 2 zeros. So it's already 1 here. So you had to go back 2 more. So you had 3 zeros and then 12. 1 0. So it became 0.246. 2 zeros. So 0.0872. 2 zeros, 0.986. So really, you're just looking for the indicator of how many zeros to go to your left. On the assignment, it does have this reminder of how to do it. So always a good idea to look at the homework helper before launching. And then you have some problems here. And then you'll have some story problems that'll help you apply this skill. You may turn in the homework one of a few ways. You could put your name on top of both sides and scan or email it to me at maryland@sykechipschool.net or text at 989-750-1640. You could also use it, write it down, and then go into your Google form and type the answers in there and hit submit. Any of those ways will work. Once we start paper exchanges again, then you'll have that as an option as well. If you have any questions, reach out to me during office hours. And I hope you all have a minogijigad. Minwa bamapi.